Good evening, my friends. So, tonight we continue what I like to call the Soviet series. When I mean the Soviet series, or when I say the Soviet series, I am referring to the videos that I've been recently making, talking to you guys about how everything that you see before you in the media, in Congress, and from the Democrats, and from local politicians, and federal politicians, and celebrities, everything you see coming out of their mouths and everything they're doing, and Antifa and BLM, is basically the calling card of the Bolshevik Revolution, and how former Soviet citizens can tell you that because they saw it in front of their face. And I say this because I am their son. My parents are two of those people. They were dissidents, and this is something that they saw right in front of their face. If you guys want more in detail, go refer to my other videos. I'm not going to recant it again, but I will cover something to do with this, which is the newest revelation, which is, I don't know if you guys saw it, there was a video that came out that was made by the wonderful gentleman at something called Project Veritas, and they caught the CEO, the founder and CEO of Twitter, a man by the name of Dorsey. He was caught basically saying that, we're focusing on this one account on Twitter. We know whose account that is, but it's not just one account going forward. And especially after the inauguration, it's going to be all these different kind of people. And he was specifically referring to QAnon. He said the word QAnon, or Q. But the thing is, what this wonderful genius doesn't really understand, or maybe he does, is that some of the people that they've been banning, or they've been canceling, or suspending are not just Q people. They are prominent conservative commentators. Not only that, they're keeping or they're allowing people like the Ayatollah, the communist Chinese regime, other nefarious international actors to stay on Twitter and spew their hatred. And when you call them out on it, when you call Twitter out on this stuff, they say, well, that's just, and Dorsey actually said it himself, that's just saber rattling. They literally say this is saber rattling, rattling that countries do, to each other. But, conservative commentator, that's like the worst thing ever, and that's apparently inciting violence. Speech is violence. Violence is not violence. Speech is violence. Even though we know that Democrats this summer, all summer, incited and incited and incited and incited and egged them on and egged them on and egged them on and egged them on. Pelosi, Kamala Harris, AOC, Ilhan Omar, the list goes on, my friends. But it's interesting, my friends, what this really amounts to is something I like to call tetherball. If you guys ever see, the game tetherball that you play as a kid, and you played this game as a kid in whether it was like recess in school, if you grew up in America, it wasn't such a thing in the Soviet Union. But if you grew up in America, either recess or gym class, you had this thing, tetherball. It's like a pole, and you have a ball that's attached to it, tethered to it, and you just, people stand on opposite sides, and they basically try to hit the ball hard enough to wrap it around the pole, and to see, who wraps around the pole first will be the winner. So, I guess you guys could say that Jack Dorsey and all the Dems, what they've done is they've taken this group of people called Q, right? They've turned these guys into the pole. So Q is basically the pole. It's the pole that everything wraps around. And they've attached a bunch of tether balls. Everyone else, if you're a conservative, if you're a person in the Congress who, try to constitutionally, according to constitutional procedure, vote, in favor of, or vote against the Electoral College, you are tethered to this pole called Q, and there's a lot of these tether balls, not just one. and they've tethered it, and you're a conservative commentator, and you're anyone who supported Trump, everybody's tethered to that pole, and then they're just being smacked around, and then the media smacks them around, and you just smack them around, and whoever wraps around basically all of the conservative commentators and all the Trump supporters around this pole, which they've turned Q into this pole, is the winner of the game. What game? I don't know. Tetherball. Leftist, communist, Bolshevik tetherball. Their objective is to wrap it around so much that they basically convince everybody, or at least a whole new generation of people. You're talking about students, college students, kids in high school, junior high school, elementary school, that basically Donald Trump is the big bad orange boogeyman, and that there's this, nefarious actor called Q, conspiracy theorists. They're the ones that are inciting all this violence, this insurrection, and this sedition. Meanwhile, my friends, we go back to the old Bolshevik handbook. Accuse others of what you do. Do that stuff. When you do it, it's totally legit. But when they do it, or when anybody does anything, even when it's 0.000000001% of the population, or 1%, or that same number, I'm not going to repeat that number because I'm not sure exactly how many zeros were there. When that same percentage of people were part of a larger group of like millions of people at a certain event, or just millions of people just that exist on the planet, those guys are apparently the evil ones. Yeah, my friends. So that's pretty much it. Jack Dorsey, and I guarantee you guys that Jack Dorsey, when he's going to see that somebody videotaped him, he's going to come out and say, well, I meant what I said, and this is why. They're going to justify. They're going to justify everything. Everything they do is justified, and nothing anybody else does is justified. On the opposite side of the political spectrum, everything they do is for the good, it's a noble cause, and we have to stop this orange Hitler, this guy who's literally Hitler, the guy whose State Department, Mike Pompeo in particular, basically defunded UNRWA. I don't know if you guys know what UNRWA is. UNRWA is the agency. It's the single agency. So basically in the UN you have the UNHRC. The UN, I don't remember the acronym. There's one agency for all refugees all over the world. All refugees, including, when somebody like me and my parents were refugees. You're talking like, the late 80s from the Soviet Union. And then there's a single dedicated refugee agency for the nation that likes to call themselves the Palestinians. A dedicated agency, my friends. According to all logical and rational, as Mike Pompeo wrote today, standards, it is impossible. I repeat to you, it is impossible. You have to try. You have to deliberately try to be refugees for 5 or 6 generations in a row. You have to try. And if you're not trying, then there's something seriously wrong with you. I'll give you guys an example. I was a refugee, right? My children, like my parents and I, let's say if my parents would have came to the States and I would have been born in the States, which I wasn't. So they're refugees. They came to, or refuseniks, but then refugees. They came to the States. I would be the kid of refugees. My kids are already not refugees. So, in either case, my kids are not refugees. I am a refugee. My kids are refugees. Their kids are just not refugees. That's it. My grandkids are not going to be refugees. My kids are going to be like a child of refugees. Maybe. Depends on where they, if they're going to get raised in Israel, B'ezrat Hashem, they're going to be kids of repatriate, a person who repatriated his country. Or his ancestral homeland. So, my friends, the Palestinians, if you call them refugees, right? Where are they refugees from? Some of them are still in the same cities that their ancestors were years ago. Some of them are not, right? But some of them are living not in refugee camps. Some of them are living in like towns, like nice, very nice, beautiful towns, right? Some of them are in refugee camps, some of them are not. But the ones that are in refugee camps are kept there by their own people. By their own people, I mean the Saudis, the Egyptians, the Jordanians, Lebanese, the Syrians. If anything, they have refugee camps in Syria and Lebanon as well. And those people don't have an agency. That UNRWA is dedicated to them. And these people, my friends, have been refugees since 1948. We are talking about 3 years? If you're going by generations, if you assume every generation is 25 years, you're talking about at least 3 generations, maybe 4 generations, my friends. Actually more than that, because you had people alive at that time, so it's more than that. It's like 5 generations. It is impossible. And so, literally Hitler, the man people like to call literally Hitler, has defunded this UNRWA, right? There's so many other things he did that debunk or disprove that he is literally Hitler. I'm not going to list them to you. You guys probably know. Moving the embassy to Jerusalem, declaring Golan Heights as part of Israel, basically telling the Israeli government that if they want to declare sovereignty over Judea and Samaria, they can, which they haven't yet. Making peace with, being instrumental in making peace with the Arab nation states. Defying basically what's his name, John Kerry said in his time, that there's not going to be any of those that peace unless at first there's a peace of the Palestinians, which clearly you guys see that's total BS. Okay, literally Hitler, anti-Semite, horrible person, enables anti-Semites, enables white supremacy. I mean, my friends, like you gotta be like, I hate to use the word, pardon my language, guys. You know, in this day and age, you got to be retarded to believe that stuff. You got to be retarded, but people believe it. The blue checkmark intelligentsia on Twitter believe it. What this blue checkmark intelligentsia doesn't understand is that once Twitter is done with the conservative tetherballs, we like to call the tetherballs, that are tethered to their imaginary boogeyman called Q, the pole, then they will come for those guys. The blue intelligentsia. They are next. This is what they don't really understand. They don't understand that when there has to be enforcement of speech, this is how these things work. There has to be a tyrant that comes in, a kulak, basically a totalitarian MFer, like Stalin style, will come in and he basically will say, oh, your intelligentsia, I don't care if you're left wing or right wing, your intelligentsia, I'm threatened by you. In the words of the AOL voice, goodbye. Okay, my friends? This is exactly what is going to happen. And how do we know this? Because you guys are listening to a child of Soviet dissidents, and I came to the States when I was 7 years old, so I didn't experience these things firsthand, but my parents did, and they told me about these things, and they continue to tell me about these things, and other people like them. 90% of people like us voted for Trump. There is a reason for that, my friends, not because we don't understand democracy. We understand democracy very well. Granted, this place is a representative republic. We don't like totalitarianism. We know who the real totalitarians are. So far, they're exercising what's called soft tyranny. You know? Soon, they're going to get into hard tyranny. They're going to get into the hard stuff. You know what I'm saying? So first, they're doing the cannabis of tyranny, and now they're going to get into the narcotics of tyranny, the hard stuff. Let's get into the heroin of tyranny. They're going to start snorting the hard stuff, my friends. And that's when the fun begins. That's when the fun begins, my friends. Yeah, my friends saying, agreed, they don't see it. Yeah, they don't see it. They're not going to see it until, I'll tell you guys something. was talking to a friend of mine today, and I was saying that, one fine day, he was like saying, oh, I can't keep up with the news, I'm too busy, I'm working, I got this side project, I got my job, blah, blah, blah. And it connects to this week's Parsha, where the Egyptians were so busy, with their work, and Moshe Rabbeinu was trying to come to them and say, hello, guys, everybody, hello. And so one fine day, this person's going to find themselves, they're going to be sitting at their desk, they're going to be on a conference call, or doing some busy work or something like that, and a person's going to come up to them at work, and they're going to say to them, hi, so you probably heard, I don't know if you got the memo, I sent the email this morning that we're going to have, starting this Thursday, we're going to have once a week, I guess either during lunch or maybe like after work, after 5 o'clock, we're all going to get together in the conference room, and we're going to talk about, basically anti-racism, and we're going to share our feelings about that, how we feel about that, and then we're going to talk about, any experiences we may have had, whether it was, being racist towards others or maybe that we didn't realize we were racist towards others, or maybe others being racist towards us, or, kind of mutual racism, or whatever it is. So we're going to share those, kind of anecdotal stories, or maybe just our feelings on the topic. So, what I want everybody to do is basically, you're going to have to take, if you can, maybe if you could, just take notes, and then just, everybody would kind of, we'll go around the room, and everybody will just, share what they feel. Everybody will stand up and make a speech. My friends, so this kind of stuff is what they called in the Soviet Union politinformatsiya, political information. This is what they would do with people at work. They would get up and people would give their opinions on the matter. And the problem is that if you had, so to speak, the wrong opinion, you could have a problem. My mother, for example, both my parents actually, or in particular my mother, once at work, they found out at her work that she applied to leave the Soviet Union. She was officially declared a traitor to her motherland, right? And once that happens, you're basically exempt from these politinformatsiya sessions. Why? Because your opinion doesn't really matter. Why? Because you're a traitor to the country. So it's basically like, you might as well be listening to a spy in their eyes, right? So my mother tells me, ironically, with tongue-in-cheek, she's like, after this happened, all my friends at work were envious of me. Why? Well, the thing is, I'm like, why don't I'm surprised they didn't fire you. No, she's like, they couldn't fire me because the rule was see, that's the thing, the Soviet Union was a nation of laws. They wanted to do everything by the book. The rule was people were not allowed to be fired. They had to be kept at their job for the first 3 years after graduation, especially they were specialists in a particular field. My mother was an applied math, she was a computer programmer, computer science specialist, so that she had to stay at that job and have people basically smirk at her and have her managers, scoff at her every single day, knowing that she's a traitor to the motherland. I'm not sure when this happened into her stint at this job. I'm pretty sure in the beginning. Actually, they applied in 1977. So that was right in the beginning. So basically, for 3 years, my mother had to, every once in a while listen to this nonsense. But she was exempt from these politinformatsiya meetings. But, my friends, in this country, in America, no one will be exempt. And if you say that I'm not going to this meeting, what's going to happen to you? You're basically just going to be shown the door. You're going to be fired. You're going to be fired. This will go on your record. And what's going to happen is the next job you apply to, these people, you won't be able to use this place as a reference. They're going to call up this place and they're going to ask, so why was this person terminated? They're going to say, well, this person did not want to attend our politinformatsiya, political information, as we call it, meetings. They didn't want to attend our meetings on anti-racism. So this will lead everybody involved to conclude that this person is a racist. Why? Because she doesn't want to go to the anti-racist meetings. Why would a person, if they are not a racist, not want to go to the anti-racist meetings? Like, what do they have to hide? Not a racist, right? Clearly they are. My friends, we are there. We're getting there. We're going there. Get ready, my friends. Get ready, baby. Oh, yeah. That's basically it. That's all I wanted to tell you. Spent the last 20 minutes. I hope you guys get it through your thick skulls. If you didn't, like I said, do it your way and see what happens. Laila Tov, Chodesh Tov.